Okay, so my jumping the shark video got Blender Nationed, so I'm getting some questions about it. This is the video right here, and you can see that there's this video of a shark jumping out and re-entering the water. There's some splashing going on, and what we're looking mostly at is this texture and this material, these material settings for the water, and how these were achieved. Some criticism about the video that's known, things that I'm aware of, is that the animation is not very good. It's maybe adequate, but it's not very good, and that's simple reason for that is I'm not an animator. I haven't really spent any time learning how to do animation, and I don't do it a lot. So my thought was I wanted to try this concept out and put it up, but I hate it when people put videos. I don't hate it because I do it all the time too. But you put a video up about a concept using software, Blender or something else, and it's just using abstract forms to demonstrate it. When why don't you just make a scene or something? Is something I ask myself even when I make things. So I decided, well, I'm going to make a scene. I'll make something here that something's actually happening. So we have the shark jumping out of the water. So that's a little bit better than just a plane with modifiers on it and a ball, an icosphere or something like that. So that's where this came from. I figured I'd just make it do something rather than have nothing do something. Let's take a look at what's going on here. So the big question I've gotten is this in real time? Well, real time is a matter of debate. If by real time you mean can you see everything in the viewport, the answer is yes. You can see everything as it will be in render in the viewport. If by real time you mean does it play back like a game, then the answer is no. Although I suppose the answer could be yes if your computer is powerful enough, if you have a lot of high-powered machine. I don't have a high-powered machine. That's why I monkey around in OpenGL all the time, because when I want to make something, I don't want to let it render for days, and I would have to let it render for days, and I'd kill the processor in the process of doing that. So I don't have an outstanding GPU. I don't have a very heavy lifting system. I have a couple gigs of RAM and maybe 3 or 4 gigs of RAM, and I have a dual core processor on an old HP. So that's what I've got. It's just a laptop, and I'm a hobbyist. I'm not really into this very much. I make a living doing other things. So given that, my computer runs really slow, so I mess around with OpenGL. So I use OpenGL as a render platform to render passes so that I can do traditional compositing with those passes rather than rendering passes using a ray-traced render engine that takes a lot longer. And certainly gets better results, don't get me wrong. But the GLSL OpenGL viewport rendering has become so robust that it actually, I think, as you can see here, you can get away with a lot very, very quickly. So that's why I mess around with things like this. Now, if I play this back, I hit play, and I am screen capturing right now, and I am recording audio for this little demonstration, so things are a little bit slower than they normally be. But look, this is it. This is how fast it's running. So no, it's not in real time in that sense, but we will be able to see all of the textures and all the materials in real time once I change my viewport mode here. Just to show you the animation of what's going on, because this is probably the second question I've been getting, is what's the story here with these splash particles? Are the particles driven by the material? That is to say, is there some sort of vertex paint layer or something like that, or velocity that is driving these particles? Is there a collision kind of capability that's going on? And the answer to that is no. I hate to disappoint you, but these are merely animated particles. If we get in close here, align view to the view the selected here. This is the shark jumping out of the water. If you get up really close, you can see that these are just parts of an icosphere that's had some of the vertices deleted, and it just leaves a few faces here. And these are being emitted from an object that looks like the front of the shark. So as the shark comes out of the water, it's emitting particles. Then the particles end their emission at one point, and they also get smaller as they fall off. So then they will eventually go to nothing. And they're not even colliding with anything. It's just a straight up particle simulation. There's nothing really complex going on here. Now the particles are set to apply paint as a brush, as brushes to the ocean layer. So they will affect the ocean modifier, the water layer, in terms of geometry. It will cause rippling, and it will also apply a paint to it that we can use to mask in our foam. So other than that, they're just particles, and they don't even look that great, really. They just kind of, just kind of there. Now I have a technique I'm going to show you here that you can use to make these look better, and actually use this kind of technique for making some water kinds of effects, like a waterfall. If we go ahead here, I'm going to jump ahead. Again, this is going to mess up our ocean modifier because the ocean modifier is not baked, and neither is the vertex paint. So you see that indentation's left there because I skipped ahead. Here's another emitter. It's a cone that's had the center cut out, so it's just emitting on the left and the right of the shark, and it's shooting out these same particles. Same thing again, they start big and then they get smaller, and they can affect the geometry and also apply paint. So they just start applying as soon as the shark makes contact with the water. This cone, which you can't see, the emitter, just emits particles, and it's animated in, hand animated in. I put it in there, I set keyframes at the points where that would happen. So I did search around and search and search and search, like many of you probably have, for possibilities in making a paint layer or some sort of vertex paint layer actually emit particles. You can use textures to emit particles. I haven't had a lot of luck with it, but I know it can be done. My guess is probably the best way to go about that route is to take a baked image sequence of the paint layer and use that as your emitter, emitting texture. I haven't tested it, but I don't know, it might work in theory. But that takes a little bit of work. You'd have to bake a whole sequence of images first and then apply them as a texture, and then, good luck. Hopefully it works out. So instead of wondering so much about these questions, I finally got to a point philosophically where, hey, if I want to make a video, I need to just stop looking for answers to things that I don't even know if they work, and just do it the way that I know how to do it. So that would be my recommendation to you. If you're interested in making this kind of effect, search around, but don't waste all your time on that. If you want to make something, just make it the way you know how to. And you can make this look pretty good. I don't think it looks too terrible. If I spend a little more time on some of the animation, I might even be able to make it look more photoreal. But anyway, these are just regular emitters. There's no collision capability here on the plane. And there's no textures emitting these particles. It's just emitters that are set in the right place to shoot out particles at the right time. So also keep in mind, if you're making a scene that's only 100 to 200 frames long, or a shot, why bother making some sort of simulation that self-works? You've already identified what the shot's going to look like, so just get it done. Find the simplest way to do it. So that's what I did. All right, so 2 questions answered. Is it in real time? No, it's not playing back in real time. Yes, you can preview everything in real time. At least you can look through the scene, textures, and everything. And second question, the particles. Are they a fluid simulation, or are they particles being emitted from collision or texture? No, they're just being emitted from emitters that are set in the right place at the right time. Okay, let's look at the materials real quick. So texture, we'll go to the texture viewport shading. Take a second to load in. Another thing is that I found that the ambient occlusion, the screen space ambient occlusion, has gotten very, very robust. So I've been using that on render passes as well. I have it set kind of low right now, but I found that if you set the samples at 40 or above, it's pretty good. So we'll just bump the samples up real quick. So here's what I mean. This is real time, in that I can see everything in real time. I can see a perfect preview of what this animation is going to be from the camera viewpoint. But it does not play back in real time. It'll be really slow. It's going to be even slower now. Look how slow this is, because not only is it calculating the geometry movement that's not been baked, but it's also calculating the textures that are applied to this, the large materials that are in here. Now, I want to point out, let me see here, that nothing in this scene has any lighting on it. There are no lights in this scene at all. Everything is shadeless. Okay? So you're wondering, how am I getting the specularity and stuff? How am I getting these light, sources, light points? Well, I'm getting that because they're just textures that are applied as captured materials. They're applied in such a way to layer up various elements of lighting. So I have what looks like 2-point lighting, kind of an orange color on the left and orange color on the right. It's just a captured material. If you want to know what that means, if I go back to the solid view real quick, Blender has some internal matte caps, captured materials like this here. I have this one set. It's just an image that is then applied as normal mapping, so that all the normals that are facing up would get the uppermost part of the image. The normals that are facing down would get the bottom part, left and right. So it's like a picture of what you want your lighting to look like on a sphere, and then it's applied to everything. I've made a bunch of these that I use, and I can show you a couple here that are used in here. For example, this is just a picture of a sky. Actually it's a picture of a mountain terrain with clouds around it, and I flipped it upside down. So this is actually the sky, and this is the ground. And I found that this works really well for water. So I applied this as a normal, and it gives me all of the kinds of lighting and interesting reflections that are in the water. Another image that I use a lot is this marble image. You can make this in Blender if you want to, just render out a single image of this and then throw it into a photo editor and make it seamless so that it can be repeated, a seamless texture, or just download a marble texture somewhere. But I use this a lot in a lot of projects, not just in this one, but I use it for all of the foam masking in here. So that's one of the tricks to lighting. Is just to use matte caps or captured materials. I have a whole pack of shadeless lighting materials that I use that have shadow on the bottom, shadow on the left, shadow on the right, shadow on the top, halo lighting. I've just made a bunch of these, and that's how I'm getting away with it. So they're all layered up in different blending modes to get me the proper lighting. So go back to the texture here. So no lights in this at all. If you look at my YouTube channel, you'll find a few tutorials on how to accomplish that. Now, let's look in close at the water. You can see what's going on here. And I'm actually shocked even looking at it now. Go up here. How good it looks. It really does look quite good. You can see this foam. Looks really, really good. Let's look in the node editor real quick to see how this is accomplished. So let me click on the ocean. And again, this is very lagging because, in fact, here's what I'm going to do. As long as we're looking at the viewport, everything's going to be really slow. Let's go to the 3D view. Go to the UV. Nope, node editor. Here it is. Okay, so this is the node setup for this material. So it's kind of complicated. Okay. I have my initial water material, you can see right here, okay, with a number of layers on there that give me a shadeless material. I've applied this with an RGB curve to get the right color. This comes into a mix node where I have another material which is just foam. And that's got a number of different materials applied to it. I'll look at that in a second, how that works. And then that's mixed together with the water using one of these marble textures applied as a material as well, and that's masking in the foam on top of the water, so it gives us kind of that tenderly look to it. So we're not just merely applying foam across any kind of paint map. We're applying this material, the combination of foam on top of water, to give a more realistic image. Okay, and you can see what that looks like. Actually, I can show that to you. I guess we'll have to. Alright, I guess we'll have to go back here. Let's go back to the 3D view. And back away, go to the camera viewport here. I'll close off this sidebar. Open up another window. Again, forgive the lagging here. This is pretty complicated stuff. Processor's dealing with it. And we'll go to the node editor there. Okay. So you can see how painful a tutorial on this would be, so I'm not going to bother doing that. We'll just try to explain things this way as best we can. We'll take the combination here, and well, let me just show you what things look like. So here's the water with a bunch of layers on it. Okay, that's the water. This is the foam. Okay, 1 second. It's the foam. So you see what it looks like. So it's got quite a few layers to it as well with respect to bump mapping. And the bump maps were applied using just, some video noise, and I have a video of, I'll show it to you here real quick. A video that looks like this. This is just a cloud texture on a plane that's animated. I made this a long time ago, 250 frames of this kind of thing. So I use this to add some of the ripples. So this is applied to give some geometric bump mapping to this material. Again, you got to already know how to do some of this stuff if you're going to understand what I'm talking about. Then this here is the texture map. And you can see that this is just a mask using that marble texture. So this mask is applying the foam to the water, and that gets this. Okay, so that's the foam layer. This is what the foam looks like. So you can see kind of the specularity in there in the water that's peeking through the foam, but the foam doesn't have specularity. It's just pretty realistic looking stuff there, okay? So a lot of shadeless materials there to accomplish that effect. Then I've got, from the ocean modifier, this is just an ocean modifier, I have a map for the foam being generated from that modifier. That would look like this. I'm sorry, that's the, well, I'll handle this first. This is actually a dynamic paint layer. Okay, so coming into this is a geometry node that has the wet map set from the paint layer, the dynamic paint. Again, this is not a tutorial on dynamic paint, so I'm not going to show you how to do it. I'm just going to mention it. You can go search for dynamic paint tutorials and sort that out. But there's the geometry node, the wet map, and there's actually two wet maps. There's one that expands slowly, and there's one that decreases very quickly. They're layered on top of each other. And then through a series of filters, I apply this also to another geometry node, which is the, find it here. This is the foam map that's made from the ocean modifiers. So it tells us where the foam is at. Now I put a lot of curves on these to tighten down the coloring, tighten down the white and bring the blacks up so that it's really, really sharp. And ultimately in the end, by mixing all of these together through a lot of awful lot of mixing, I end up with something that looks like this. I think this is the right one. So this is it. This is everything. Okay, we have the geometry output vertex paint for the foam from the OSHA modifier. I have the vertex paint, and on top of that I applied a few more instances of the marble mask just to give us a little bit more detail in there. And then this layer is being used together, that's the bulk of these nodes, to then apply that foam to the water. And this is what we get. So that's the final output once you get everything put in together there. Okay. So that's how we accomplish the water. I don't know what this is. It seems like an artifact, something left over. I don't know what that is. I think this is from me trying to toy around with the way to get try to use materials to emit particles. That did not work out, as I said. So, all right, so this is the end result. Now, let's look quickly at what I do then with this. I render out kind of a, not a full resolution, but a slightly lower resolution, like an 80% res animation of this whole thing. Once I've baked the particles, run it through with all the animation there. And then we go to the video sequence editor. Let me go here. I just want to show you one more trick that I used in compositing all of this. Obviously, I composited this quite a bit. There's a lot of stuff. If I go back to the original scene, you can't see the output here, but look at all the stuff that I have in there. So I put in a poor man's motion blur. I changed the speed. I had to cut the speed in half because I felt that the animation was twice as long as it needed to be. There's a lot of, there's some vignetting images that I placed on there, added some noise, some adjustment layers, the letterbox thing. So lots of different stuff going on there. But let's just look at the splashing specifically. So on the beauty pass, if you look here, this is the final output. That's this one down here. If I play this back, give it a second here to update, you'll see, again, this is going to play a little slow because I'm doing video capture. In fact, it's kind of painfully slow. Let me cut this down to 50%, see if that speeds it up. Okay, that didn't really help a lot. Let's just move ahead. Stop it. If you look here at the splashes from this output, you can see all of these particles really clearly, and it looks bad. So you can just see what that looks like. So what I did is I set the particle which is just using the foam material, by the way, the plain foam material. I just applied that same material to the particle, that icosphere. I applied a white material to that, and I made a pass at the same resolution that looks like this. So it's just a mask for the particles. Okay, so I had to render this separate. And then what I did is I used this to separate the particles out. So let me just show you how this works. I'm going to duplicate my beauty pass here, and we'll just bring this down. Now I only rendered what I needed. Waste not, want not, as they say. Let me turn that off so we're not moving so slow. So move this back to frame 1. I need to put in a color real quick. Add an effect strip color. Black, because I did not render out all the frames that I didn't need. I rendered only the frames that I needed. So I'm just going to add a black piece to the end of this. And I'll select both of them, and I'm going to make this a meta strip. Bring this down tight now with, this is an instance of the beauty pass plus this meta strip. I'm going to turn the opacity off on the meta strip. I'm going to go to this beauty pass here, and I'm going to add to it a mask, and the mask is going to use that meta strip. So it's going to use the white mask for the particles. Now I'm going to select both of these things together, the beauty pass with the mask applied plus the mask itself, and we'll make that a meta strip as well. Okay. Now I'm going to set. Oh wait, Let me undo that. I messed up. I'm going to need to set the beauty pass to have alpha blend mode. So what we're doing is we're applying the mask of the particles as the alpha mask matte to the beauty pass. So it's going to isolate the particles so that we just have the particles on an alpha enabled frame. Okay. So now we're going to select both of these and we'll make that a metastrip. Now let me duplicate this, move it up. I'm going to move it one frame to the left. I'm going to duplicate it again. I'm going to move this one frame to the right. So we have it on 1, 0, and 2. I'm going to set the one on 0 to an opacity of 0.3. And I'm going to set this to alpha over. I'm going to set the bottom one to alpha over as well. The top one I'm going to set to an opacity of 0.5. 0.4. And I'm going to set that also as alpha over. Now if we enable our display, what I've done is I've used a mask to isolate just the particles so that, if I move back in the animation here, in a second to update. And waiting. Here we go. Back a little further. You can already see this looks better, although they look kind of dark. What I've done is I've created kind of a poor man's motion blur, in a way, so that we have multiple instances of the particles that are one frame off, and you can actually see them moving through space, and you get a lot more distortion and disfigurement. I can show you if I turn them off one at a time. That's the second one. Here's the first one. We'll turn that off. So this is what it looks like originally. And that's the first mask. This is what it looks like then with the next one turned on, and this is what it looks like with the third one turned on. Okay. Now what I can do is I can select all of these. Strip will make that a meta strip, and we'll set it to alpha over because it has alpha transparency on it. Now I can color grade these specifically. So if it's a little bit dark, I can just put a curves adjustment on it, bump up the center a little bit, make it lighter. So now we have these splash particles looking a little bit better. So now this is an interesting concept that I thought about, is when making something that involves particles that has more distortion or less, use bigger particles and then isolate the different parts of whatever it is that's going on and mask them separately so that you can composite. This is kind of a I don't know, what do you call this? Interpolated. This is an interpolated reframing, where I'm taking the frame from one side of movement and a frame from the other side and sticking them together to make kind of a new frame in the middle. But finding those places that have more distortion in whatever it is you're making with particle effects, and then interpolate just those frames, and then re-render everything out with a lot more time saved. So anyway, that's what I did with all the particles, just to improve the look a little bit. So this is the after, this is the before, after, before, after. So you can see that that works pretty well. Now another thing you could try when doing this, I did this on a couple of other animations I've done in the past, is make a mask for just the central foreground image part, like this shark. And then I can use that as a mask to then remove some of this overlay. Now because it's a particle splash, water splash, I didn't worry about it, but I could, if I wanted to, kind of clean up the edge of these particles that should be behind the shark by applying another mask. It would cut out all that extra stuff. So anyway, using masks, pre-rendering masks. So that's it. So the animation plays out as every particle hits the surface of the water. It adds paint and then applies that complex material that we had. So a lot of things going on in here as well. You can see that there's actually paint, vertex paint applied to, or dynamic paint applied to the concrete to add a wet map. So I kind of went for broke on this and just did a bunch of different things all at one time. So rather than showing you an object performing something, I figured I'd use a little CG OpenGL shark. So there it is. I hope that answers any of the questions that you had, and sorry if this is a little over your head. That's okay. It's not meant to explain everything and provide a tutorial. I'm just trying to answer some questions about this little animation. So hopefully you enjoy that, and good luck with this, and experiment around with using complex textures, bump map textures to create more complex images using OpenGL rather than resorting to long render times on the other render engines. Anyway, good luck with this and happy blending.